As an avid gamer since I was old enough to hold a controller, and someone who's studying both media and education, I'm particularly drawn to the topic of gamification. Games can be great as motivation. My mum has reminded me on several occasions that when I was a young kid playing games like Super Mario 64, I always wanted to know what the text on the screen meant when I was talking to other characters, and this was the whole reason that I wanted to learn to read. Research backs up the idea that games and gamification can be used for motivation, but I'll speak more on that later. Before bringing this video to my main focus, which is the implications for teaching, let me first explain what gamification is. In The Popularity of Gamification in the Mobile and Social Era by Boyeon Kim, she states, "As the term suggests, gamification is not quite creating a game, but transferring some of the positive characteristics of a game to something that's not a game, thus gamifying it. Those positive characteristics of a game are often loosely described as fun, and they have the effect of engaging game players in the activity. Examples of the fun game elements that make us want to participate in a game are the satisfaction of beating another player,
Suck that, you eating mother.
getting to the next level, unlocking aesthetic or functional upgrades, as well as getting a high score, unlocking achievements, doing it for the bragging rights, for the challenge, wanting to progress the story further, and more. So what Kim is saying is gamification means taking some of these fun game elements and putting them into something that's not a game. And why would we do this? Simple. To affect people's behavior. An example of this is the Speed Camera Lottery, a submission to the Fun Theory website made by Volkswagen. Essentially, the idea of this was to display the speed of drivers on a sign, with a green thumbs up if they were obeying the limit, or with a red thumbs down if they were speeding. The money obtained from speeding tickets would be put into a pot, and then all the drivers who were obeying the speed limit could potentially win that money. Over a 3-day period when this was tested, the average speed of drivers dropped by 22%. This is just one of countless examples that shows gamification can change people's behavior. But what does this mean for education? Well, it means we have a new way to engage students, to really get them excited about learning. A study conducted by Marcus Leaning from the University of Winchester took a unit of media studies and gamified it. The unit required students to make videos based on readings from the unit. The scores were then averaged out, and students were put on a leaderboard, creating a competitive spirit. Other things utilized were quizzes, choose-your-own-adventure activities, and other kinds of challenges. The results of the study show that students were certainly more motivated, and lots of them really had fun with the classes. The overall grades of students did increase slightly, but not to a statistically significant extent. Leaning suggests that this is because the assessment tasks, as well as the overall learning outcomes, were not changed in order to be aligned with the gamification. This is certainly something to keep in mind, but overall, the study didn't show any negative outcomes from adding game elements into classes. And while this study was conducted at a university level, gamification can be applied to secondary and primary learning as well. Teachers have been doing simple versions of this for years. Think about when you were in high school. Did you ever have a teacher who said, if you submit a high-quality piece of work, I'll give you a sticker or a chocolate bar? Personally, I've had this in a bunch of classes, but this is where issues can arise. As much of the literature that I've read for my teaching units shows, using extrinsic motivators, that is, rewards in this case, can actually be detrimental. In their journal article, Faiella and Ricciardi write, "A substantial body of research suggests that game elements may actually increase intrinsic motivation levels only when they make boring tasks interesting. When they increase extrinsic motivation, intrinsic motivation levels drop significantly, resulting in less enthusiasm for work." If students are just waiting for that chocolate, once they get it, they're likely to have no desire to continue working. Those who don't get a reward might feel resentment towards the teacher or to the other high-achieving students. To combat this, we could think about Faiella and Ricciardi's point and just use gamification for boring tasks. But this limits us. Once again, Kim weighs in on the topic, stating that we could design gamification without external rewards. Furthermore, she points out that rewards are actually okay when used for a one-time activity, say, for example, signing up for a library card and getting a free pen, or when distributed randomly rather than for the completion of a specific task. So in regard to this, if I were to create a gamified unit of study, I would probably focus on using elements of competition and challenge, because this means students are motivated by the desire to win or succeed, and this is actually a very viable form of motivation in the work and employment side of life. Here's an idea just off the top of my head. Say it's an English class. You could make a weekly challenge. Divide the class into 4 teams, and then get them all to create a writing piece. Then either you or the students themselves could judge each piece based on a set of criteria like vocabulary, themes, structure, etc. This way, you're not only fostering collaborative skills, but you're preparing students for the competitive nature of the real world, where you don't always get something such as a ribbon or a badge if you do something well. There are plenty of other ways to implement game elements, and this is up to teachers to be creative and figure out. One last point from Kim is to have a clear goal when creating a gamified experience, and to focus on the kinds of students in your class in terms of age, gender, academic performance, and what it is that actually motivates them. We should always think about our students when creating anything for the classroom, or else we risk disconnecting them from what it is we're trying to teach. As you can see, gamification has the potential to benefit or detract from learning depending on how it's developed and used. This brings me to the end of the video. Make sure to look in the description below if you want links to more info on this topic. Also, you can click here if you want to see my previous video, or here if you want to see something from my band's channel. Thank you for watching.